Here's Bob Price, our executive editor, an all-around good guy with your last good dose of politics before tomorrow's primary.
Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Bob.
I'm with Tracy Leach and Gene Tackett.
Now, hold on. Before everybody get really close to these microphones and stay there, because I'm not going to sit here and babysit you people.
That includes me, I guess.
One
absolutely.
warning.
Okay, all right.
You get
Well, I've got the little boy mic here, so I have to.
Everybody here's been on the radio a number of times.
Yeah,
You guys know the
I should
drill.
have the drill by now. Anyway, I wanted to bring these two on board because in the past, both of you have been political consultants for political type people during campaigns, and I don't believe either one of you are active on any campaigns right now.
No.
Is that right, Gene?
Just wrote some checks.
Just writing checks. Just writing checks. So you've got that insider's perspective, but you're a little bit removed from it. So anyway, and also you're nice people. So I figured those were all good reasons to bring you on board. What's the liveliest race of this particular election cycle, Tracy? What do you think?
That's an easy one. I mean, we don't have a lot to choose from in the county as far as local races go, but the assessor's race has gotten a little interesting. I think political people, junkies like Gene. That's an interesting race to watch, no doubt about it.
Yeah, if you're really concerned about the assessor's race, you are officially a political
We are
junkie.
desperate for something to talk about in politics.
When is the last time the assessor's
clearly.
race was the race?
When Trice ran.
Trice
Harvey,
12 years ago.
2002, right, Gene?
Yeah.
2002, yeah.
that's
And there's
right.
been a lot of comparisons to that race because Trice was also a politician running for a job that presumably needs some technical abilities, the ability to appraise property, have some qualifications. So Russell Johnson, coming from a political background, running for assessor recorder.
When he
against
wins, he'll
Lifquist.
take a class.
Yes, that's what I've heard. Yes, he's put that out in the news. I think there's some differences, though. Everyone loves to draw that comparison, but Trice was 65 when he did that. And Russell's in his early 30s, and he's doing a damn good job on the advertising end, as we were talking about.
I'm seeing his signs.
Well,
everywhere.
he's got a lot more money.
Yes, he does.
He has
well,
a lot,
he's a
a lot more
politician.
money.
He's a
Well,
very good politician. He knows how to raise money.
He gives county employees raises, our city employees raises, and that's why he's getting a lot of support.
Yes,
And oil. I think he's made some promises to oil. Not, we can't document that, but I think he has. So yeah, he's going to have more money than anybody else.
He's definitely ahead in the advertising game, I would say, right now.
Russell, to me, I perceive that he was sort of portraying the job as almost like a taxpayer advocate job, and I mean it's not really. It's sort of a.
No.
I mean, I think you're more a county advocate. You obviously have to be fair. You have to want to be able to appraise properties reasonably. But I mean, am I off base here at all?
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's. I mean, I am totally into having voters decide, but a position like the assessor, treasurer, tax collector, those kind of jobs, I think maybe should be appointed because it takes a little bit of skill. And Scott, as you said, it's not just one class. I mean, there is some abilities in how you do that and make it. Make it fair. And the problem is it's really important because it sets the assessments for every public entity in the county, school districts, the cities, the counties. So it's a very, very important position.
Yeah, I agree. I disagree that it should be appointed. I think that would be full of dangers for taxpayers. We should still get a fair shake, not an appointed bureaucrat. I want somebody to go to. I think the solution is beefing up the qualifications. I mean, we vote for a district attorney, but you need to be a lawyer.
Right. That's right.
We vote for judges, but you have to have the ability to practice law in front of an
there should be some
XYZ
minimum
court.
standards there.
Right. The standards perhaps are a bit low.
Yeah, but
for
Tracy,
assessor.
you should have laid
But
it
I want
out.
to vote for him.
You sort of laid it out when you said that Russell Johnson is ahead in the fundraising game and the advertising game.
Yep.
And that should not decide who is going to win an election.
Right.
Is
But
the one with the most
96%
money.
of the time it does.
It's exactly right.
It really,
exactly
really
right.
does.
Money's too important, and
that's on us, man, because people don't want to pay attention and they don't want to delve into it and find out who the best candidate are. They just go by, well, I've heard this name the most times, I'm going with that, and it works 96 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I'm sort of banking on, because obviously I'm supporting the guy that works in the assessor's office, John Lifkus, is the fact that it'll be a very, very low turnout, And I think the young Republicans who are supporting John will do better in turnout. Republicans vote more often than Democrats.
Well, that's
I mean,
Yes,
I'm sorry, they
in-
vote more consistently.
Right.
yeah, in
And
low
so-
turnout
yeah.
elections,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, in Chicago,
Yeah.
they also vote more often.
That's, yeah, I wasn't going to bring
Yes.
that up because that's
well
the Democrats.
past
That's-
their
yeah,
their
yeah,
date
yeah.
of death.
yeah.
Yes. No, I agree. The advertising is huge. Makes a huge difference. Money in politics. We can talk about that all day long. But I still want the voters to choose. I just think they ought to beef up. This has too often been worth a look for a lot of politicians looking for a gig. It was Ashburn. It was Trice. It's something about assessor is not quite right. Maybe we beef up the qualifications necessary.
Yeah,
to
I think that's a
run.
great idea. Russell Johnson is a really nice guy. He's a terrific guy, but he doesn't quite fit the Trice Harvey model that you were suggesting because I think he's in his mid-30s
Yeah,
still, and,
he's a young guy.
probably has a political. I always assumed he would have a political career ahead of himself.
Sure.
And so it's kind of strange for him to hop over into the assessor's race.
Well,
Yeah,
we
'cause
need-
It is
can you
interesting.
come back from that? Can you say, okay, I don't want to be assessor anymore. I'm going to run for the state, for the
Well,
assembly
sure.
or the state or something?
Sure, you could. Sure,
Oh,
you
ab-
could.
ab-
Yeah.
Sure, you
Using
could.
all
Well-
my assembly or using all
Yeah.
my assessor's office experience.
Well, that's when it's
Well,
going to get
it's a-
interesting.
yeah,
In
it's a-
August, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about name identification. I mean, we elected an actor for a while for
remember that.
governor because of the name identification. So
We've done that a couple times.
If whoever
Yeah.
exactly, thank you.
Yes, we
But the
have.
winner usually is the one that has the most name ID.
Yes,
Yep.
Name
So
ID,
we'll,
name ID, name
we'll-
I almost
we'll-
ran for
we'll see
mayor
what
once.
happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
You think there's a runoff in assessor, Gene? There's
I
a
have
runoff.
I have no idea in a low turnout, and since one had to be, my cynicism will show through a little bit this morning, is that since there is a Hispanic surname with one of the three candidates, that means he could probably get 10-15% of the vote
Yes.
that could force it into a runoff.
The third, for people not paying as much attention, the third candidate, yes, could spoil that because somebody has to get 50% plus one for it to be over tomorrow, or it goes into November, and that's when I think it gets interesting for Russell, being a sitting Bakersfield city councilman who needs to file for his seat in November. But I think there's a question as to whether he could file for both. I don't know if he's arguing that. I
And
haven't heard.
invariably, somebody's going to ask. I'll tell you what. I'll do it. Whenever you see one of these races, and you got two front runners, and then there is the obligatory Hispanic surname guy. He's always bankrolled by one of the other guys who wants the guy in there to siphon off votes from the other guy. That's how horrible and phony
In this case,
it's gotten. And it's
know if
not just
that's
Kern County,
true.
but it seems really bad here.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true with Lupe.
It's
I
true.
haven't met him, but reading
Yeah,
about him.
I don't think so. I think
Yeah,
he
I think
wants
he
the job and
genuinely
thinks
wants the job.
he's qualified. That's
Yeah.
what
Well,
I've heard.
and at
what
least he
I've heard.
works for the assessor's office, so yeah, he's qualified.
Yeah, he does
yeah.
work for
So-
the assessor's office.
And he's the most combative guy in those little forums too.
Yeah, which
court-
you need,
You need that, yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
force people to answer the hard questions.
Well,
Yeah, it's
it'll-
going to get interesting in the fall. Very
Hey, you're as
interesting.
cynical as I am, Scott. I mean,
I might be
no,
more
it's
so,
like,
man.
but it's like you're absolutely right. There are a lot of candidates that are thrown in to sort of siphon votes off to force it into a runoff. But we have this new system. It's really not settled in, and I don't know if the voters have really understood or use it. But it's the top two, so we can have two Republicans running against
Yeah.
each other in a partisan race, in November. And we do have a couple races in Kern County that will be, the second and third candidate who will come in. It's true in the congressional race against Valadeo, and also in against Rudy Salas, who will come in second in that race. So those are be sort of fun to watch to see how they
Well, they're
do.
fun to watch because we turned our politics here into a game of three-card Monte, where you're just looking for the red queen or whatever. I mean, seriously, the Shannon Holloway deal. I mean, I thought that was rock bottom, but we continue to chip away at that. We keep finding more and more ways. I mean, shouldn't it be about getting the people getting actual information? It's more about just tricking people now because it's highly effective. And voters need to just say enough is enough, but it's not going to happen.
People need to read their newspapers so they can become independently
Yeah, but you know what they do
informed.
instead is they just don't vote.
The
This
turnout's
ridiculously
anemic.
low voter turnout tomorrow. We're all burned out. Nobody cares. We've all been lied to so many times for so long. We've had it.
Turnout predictions,
The
anybody?
the returns this morning I checked with the county were 21% of absentees, pretty anemic.
Yeah, for
the day
absentees,
before.
21%.
That's pretty bad. Very low. It's going to be low. I don't know how low. If it's going to be a historic low, but it's
It
going
will
to be
be.
low.
Well,
Very
if
low.
absentees are 21, they're half the vote, so we're 40% or less.
But absentee,
the
okay,
turnout.
we got to take
Will
a
be the
break, but
turnout.
we'll talk about this in
That's
Quebec. We all
sad.
absentee voters are some of the most active voters that there
Right,
are.
exactly.
4 out of 5 of them went, no. What does that? What does that tell? Well, we'll talk about this on the other side of the break. We'll be right back with Tracy and Gene and Bob and Hop, the whole hee-haw gang. We'll be right back. It's First Look with Scott Cox. It's Bakersfield.com. News Talk 1180 KERN. We're back. Bob Price is here. He brought political consultants because who can't get enough of those? Hi, Bob.
Hi, Scott. So Scott, you were saying I think you were saying it. One of us was 21% on the mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far.
So far the returns are 21.
Which would suggest, since those are people that tend to vote more often than others.
What do you want to bet it's single digits across the board?
Well, I was going to say like 14%, but maybe I'm being generous. Can we do a pool here? Overall voter.
Yeah, if we're going to
turnout?
bet, I'll take
Not
9.
current.
I'll take 9.9.
No, I won't do
Nine. Okay, I'm 14.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it'll be.
Oh, she has faith in America still.
There, I
Gosh.
do. I'm gonna try to have faith. 30 something. 35.
You're on
Going
weed.
up.
35.
Yes, I'm going high.
You're on all the
Come
weed.
on, people.
You're not going high. You are high.
See,
34%?
Tracy's
need
a
to
good
vote.
gambler because she knows it gets 30, then she's got another 70% that she can work above that.
right.
We're all fighting over little percentages below 30. So
Yes.
Now, you would be smart to take 34, and then you would have that whole.
Yeah, take the
space.
over.
Yes.
I'm going to outsmart Tracy this time.
Yes.
28.
Nobody ever outsmarts Tracy. You guys are
I'll
both
say
on crack.
I'll take 28.
Yeah.
28. You're right, Scott. But
You weren't
You're
paying
right.
attention, were you, Hop?
You're right.
Yeah, it was.
But
About the crack?
yeah.
Are we looking at the percentage
Far
of
as
voters
tech
that are going
goes.
to show up?
Voter turnout, yeah.
Yeah, voter turnout. Percentage of registered voters who will actually vote.
Give or take 1%, 10.
I got that. Now
What?
you're in my horribly pessimist. I took
Oh,
9.9.
man,
9.9.
that's so
So
negative.
you can take 12. You'll win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
Literally is.
Well, because other than the exciting assessor's race, which are some words that you would never hear together, spoken together.
No, this is
Yeah,
sad.
normally it takes a comptroller race to generate that kind of excitement.
Yes. Treasurer, tax collector.
But that is, but
No.
you know what? An assessor. I mean, if an assessor can go in and decide what let's say the Monterey Shale is worth, I tell you what, it's a big deal revenue wise. It's the guy who gets to decide what stuff is worth, you pay your taxes based on its assessment. So it's a very important job.
No, you're absolutely right, Scott. And that's why there should be an expert. It shouldn't be somebody who has to take a class to qualify for the job.
No, everybody's
No.
on board. I think everybody thinks that, except for, well, until they wrote a check to the Abernathys, and now all of a sudden you got all these other career politicians that are, oh, wait a minute, Lifquist paid the Abernathys. He's running, Russell's got nobody. What's his deal?
Oh no, he's got
Just
Stan
spending
Harper.
money?
He's got Stan Harper. He's got Mike Maggart. He's got a lot of people helping him.
Yeah, those
Russell
are the,
has,
okay,
He has
in
the, he has the
GOP
right of the right people helping him.
Yeah, but who's got the most dough? Because nobody gets out the information like the Pacific, Western Pacific, whatever it is, people.
I think the only people who are getting paid on Russell's campaign are people who are running the independent expenditures. Because under Measure K, the county, the League of Women Voters, we have some pretty restrictive campaign finance laws for county offices. The most that they can collect from one person is $1,000, and that's pretty tough in a countywide campaign. So usually you have independent expenditures, and one of those cards, or one that I got, was from the firefighters, and it was an independent expenditure, which, it depends on who they mail to. Could have been $50,000 from one organization as opposed to $1,000.
But on the flip side, Lifquist isn't supposed to be going into debt under Measure K to get elected. He can't have a consultant or anybody else fronting the money and then collecting it later. He's got to raise it, like you said, either $500 or $1,000 increments.
Well, so there's a lot of signs out there. Those things don't come cheap. How sad is it that you could be the most qualified guy for the job and you got to spend $60,000 to hire a consulting firm to tell people that you shouldn't hire a guy who has no experience in the field? That's problematic.
Very problematic. No, you're absolutely right, Scott. It's
And who's going to
really
win the
tough.
thing? I mean, is
really tough.
If nobody gets over 50% tomorrow, it goes into November, and that's when I think it gets a little tricky for Russell.
Well, then they have to
Please?
raise another $100,000 to run. It these mailers cost in the old days. Maybe Tracy, you may have updated. I haven't done one for a while, but they used to be about 50 cents per household, and they've got to be 75 cents. So if you're going to send out to 100,000 people, which is probably a minimal going out countywide, that's $75,000 for one mailer.
Right.
fair.
And who's
It's a
paying?
lot of money.
And somebody's got to pay that. Those things don't come cheap.
That's why
Wow.
Gene was saying they usually come from outside entities because Russell and John can only raise it $500, $1,000 a clip per person. That's hard to get to those numbers, but outside groups can do whatever they want. They're
But
independent.
that's everybody's fault for not going out and getting educated and finding out what the assessor does and who the people are and doing some research and finding out. Read your paper, for God's sake, but people don't. I saw a sign for bleh. I heard some other politician whose name I'm familiar with say to do bleh. So that's what everybody does now. And that's why, like I said, 96% of elections are won by who spent the most money.
Yeah,
All right, let me throw out a whole nother thing here. The California's editorial board endorsed John Lifquist, but let me make a case for Russell Johnson. Wouldn't it do that department some good to have a complete outsider come in and look at things just from scratch and say, you know what, this could be more efficient. We could do this better. John Lupe Esquivias, who's running from inside the assessor's office, has pointed out some things he thinks could be done better. Couldn't an outsider come in as well, kind of after a couple of weeks, figure out this could be more efficient? Because the excuse
That's like
is,
getting me to coach the Raiders. They're still going to suck. An extra set of eyes is not going to help. That's not the problem. You need to have some experience in your field.
okay.
Yeah, or Scott Cox to run the Californian. He could come in and replace Richard Bean. I mean,
Yeah,
you
why not?
could-
I've got
you could
leadership
have-
skills.
You know, you could train somebody without any experience, or he could train, or he or she could train herself. But you know, it's I mean, it's a lofty goal. I mean, or to say, hey, bring somebody in from outside, but for most political jobs, I think that works. But when you're actually assessing property, which is not objective, it's subjective. And you brought this up earlier, Scott, with oil. I mean, this Monterey Shell, if it's actually there, and how much, is going to be very tricky. And obviously the assessor will make it higher than the oil companies want it to be, and they'll go to court, and then judges will sort of decide. But it's very, very important. The assessor's job is very, very important and subjective on how it's done.
Right. And if they had somebody they thought would come up with the numbers they wanted, then all of a sudden you'd get it. You know, just by some weird coincidence, employees of oil companies would start writing checks for the maximum and flying them in. They're just as lickety-split as they can go, but they've sort of been on the sidelines on this one. I wonder what's up with that. We'll find out tomorrow. We got to get a break on. We'll be right back. Is everybody hanging out? You guys staying? You got nowhere else to
Yeah.
go?
I have nowhere else to go.
I got no place else to go. We'll be right back. It's First Look with Scott Cox. It's Bakersfield.com. Tomorrow's primary day. Go vote. Get out there. Or, I hate to tell people not to vote just so my number will come in, but we didn't bet. There's no money on it or anything. So let's see if we could get it up to Tracy's insane 37%? 35%. Wow. You can't buy that kind of delusion.
I thought we were
We'll
talking
be right
about
back. It's First
with
Look with
pride.
Scott
We're talking about pride.
Come on.
Bakersfield.com and News Talk 1180 KERN. We got Bob Price. So
Yes, we do.
Take it away, Bob.
We've also got Tracy Leach, who I think is starting to kind of miss this whole political like, oh my, what
I'm
have I
a
done? I
nerd.
moved on to something else, and
No, that's definitely
no?
not happening.
Okay, all right. And
But I am a nerd.
But you are a nerd.
A bit of a geek.
She's a grandma. She told me before
I
the show.
am.
That's
Hi,
fantastic.
Austin.
That has an impact. That has an impact on your political enthusiasm.
You're
It
so
does,
qualified
it
nerd.
does.
What makes you a nerd?
What makes me a nerd?
Yeah, what
Oh,
makes you
so
a
many
geek?
things.
Like?
I was starting in politics in the mid-'90s when my mom called and said I had to help a family friend, John McQuiston, run for supervisor. And I said, what? But it's your mom, and so you do it.
Yeah.
And then I just did races after that no one in my
you're a
friends
political
circle.
nerd.
I'm a political nerd.
Oh, okay.
Truly a political nerd. Yes,
Okay.
most of my friends just blink.
David Valadeo
No.
will be on with Ralph today and Todd Carley. So if you felt you're not topped off with information, you could find out why should I
Yeah.
vote for David Valadeo.
David's a good guy. You should vote
He's
for
a great
Valadeo.
guy.
You should vote for Valadeo.
Although last time he came in, he didn't bring milk. Didn't hook us up with any Rosa Brothers. So
he's a great guy.
No milk?
yeah, I mean I'm not going to not vote for him just because of
Because
that.
he
Why
didn't bring
not?
milk.
Yeah,
Gene Tackett, will you cop to being a political nerd as well?
No,
No.
no.
You're a political cool guy.
No. I started in McFarland in 1960, going door to door for JFK.
Wow.
And I mean that was 100 years ago, and
Yes, it
but
was.
I was very optimistic, very enthusiastic, and over the last 100 years, I've gotten less enthusiastic.
Yeah,
and
I
less,
agree with
but
that.
Don't
no,
you
I
guys
was in-
both
I
still
was
pull-
into it.
Don't you
Yeah,
guys
I
do
was
this
too.
crap for a living? Don't you guys both work
No,
for? You don't.
not anymore.
You're unemployed.
No, I have a business in public relations and business projects. Strictly business projects.
Oh, in
Honest to God.
Bakersfield, you're telling me it's not not political.
Well, we help our clients when they have any political issues. We certainly advise them and help them with those issues. But no, we don't. I don't do candidate campaigns or anything like that. I don't know if Gene does.
No, I gave up. I give free advice and I write some checks to the candidates. But I'm working with the Tohon tribe, the Indian tribe that got their recognition back and are doing economic development south of Bakersfield. And
Nice. They
I'm
are
still,
doing that.
and I'm
Economic development, is that for
That casino?
code for gambling?
I hope so. That's one of the ways they'll get a
Yes,
little
it
bit of
is.
their treasure back.
That's
that
code
we
for
still
casino.
and I'm still working with high-speed trains. So I have 2 clients.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Well, Tracy, break down. God, what assembly race is that? Is that the 32nd
30,
assembly?
yeah. Rudy Solis' seat.
Rudy Solis, yeah. And the two Republicans
incumbent.
trying to knock him out.
Right, 2 Republicans. Yeah, I think that's an interesting race. Again, mostly for geeks. It's Romeo Agbalog and Pedro Rios. And Romeo having used to be with the Abernathy's, and now Pedro's their guy. And so it's kind of interesting little drama there, Splitsville. I don't know what's going on. But to me, it's sort of a proxy war for what's coming in a few years for Gene Fuller's seat. You have Shannon Grove, assembly member on one side. You have Connie Conway, assembly member on the other. And both assembly districts are in Gene Fuller's Senate district.
Right.
And both are likely to pursue that office. And they've split on that race.
Okay, so explain how it's a proxy race. I mean,
Oh, I
what's
think
gonna happen?
it is. They're establishing their political bases and their support and their backing and their authority in Kern County and throughout throughout the Central Valley. And Connie Conway's already opened a Senate, which is Fuller's seat, a Senate 2018 campaign account.
Which is when Fuller
Yes,
comes out then?
yes. If she fulfills her full term, it would be 2018, which is a ways down the road, I realize. But it's an interesting, what we were talking about earlier offline, the dynamic of shifting political groups. There seem to be more and more tribes.
The People's Front of Judea.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a lot of tribes.
Yeah, I think it's
fascinating.
really smart from if the Republican Party has a brain. I mean, one brain, because there's more people sort of working on
Well, we
that.
have
That
brains.
I think Romeo is a much better candidate and will do much better against Rudy Solis
Mm-hmm.
than the cowboy with the hat. I still have a hard time saying Republican
know what
names
that's about.
on the radio, but I think Romeo is a good is a really good
Romeo,
is a
yeah.
really good candidate,
Good
and I
candidate.
think he's worked hard. They're both from Delano, which is interesting. They're sort of from the heart of the Delano
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of that, or the Kern County part of that
No,
assembly
I agree.
district. so-
Romeo seems like a very thoughtful candidate,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He once worked for John McQuiston to full circle back, in Delano, and that's a big part of the district, right in the middle of it.
and the
It's-
chamber. And
What's
Romeo
that?
worked
Yes,
for
he
the
did.
Bakersfield,
Bakersfield
chamber.
Chamber.
So
Yes,
yeah,
he did.
that'll be a good. So this top 2 thing, so there is at least a little battle on what's going to happen there, and the same thing
Yeah.
we're going to have on the congressional side against Valadeo of the 2 Democrats who are fighting to come in second. And I think that one's sort of up in the air as well, even though Renteria has lots of money and more
Lots of money.
TV ads that John Hernandez could do
You
better
don't
than
think
we
she
think.
passes Hernandez?
I don't know. I don't know. I just low turnout, low Democratic turnout. It's very difficult to, and I don't have any kind of access to polls and that kind of thing. So I think
don't
the
either.
second tier, Scott, that we're getting into, is going to be important. Or who comes in second or third to watch that, and on Wednesday, who comes in to run against the incumbents in November.
There
Will
aren't
be
too many people
interesting.
think the Democrats are going to make much progress in the House nationwide. So I have heard that this battle, Renteria, whoever it is, against Valadeo is mostly to beat him up for 2 years from now when there's a much larger Democrat turnout The congressional members have to stand every 2 years. They're basically in constant campaign mode. So you beat them up, you bloody them a lot in this very low turnout year, which we've talked about. In 2 years, much higher Democrat turnout, and they think they can make some chinks in David.
So this is just body blows this time around.
Politics is full of rumors, and they try to fill
yeah,
your head
you've
with them
got
before
'em,
you
my
go on the
God.
radio.
Well, that's her job is to keep them going. They're not just political nerds. They're
I
both
have
taking
people-
money from either unions or
No.
oil companies to try to
No.
keep the water muddied up all the time so nobody will know what to do.
No, I have no dogs in this.
And
this
political
campaign.
spin. Well,
Yeah.
but even
That's
though
what you both do. You're both
even though-
professionals. We're just these
No, it's
yokels.
interesting.
I'm gonna
It's
vote
interesting.
Democrat. Tracy's going to vote Republican. So
You
it's
think?
just sort of moving
Really?
that a little bit around.
Because if you
Earth
didn't,
shattering.
neither one of you would have jobs.
Oh, no.
Tracy, have you ever
From
voted
birth.
for a Democrat?
When did you? No.
Eisenhower?
Not since Gene
No.
in
not
a
since
partisan race.
Tackett.
In a partisan race.
Heavens, no.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
What is
but
it?
I don't always vote Republican. I mean, it's. I think I could be a Republican/Libertarian now if they had established that party.
Any real Republican is a Republican/Libertarian. There's no way about it.
But you bring up a good point, though.
I
is-
wish.
I'm a Libertarian/Republican. I'm on the
Yeah.
other side.
Yeah.
It's. I went through
happen
that
to you
whole
at your age.
objectivism and Ayn Rand and stuff in Santa
It's
Barbara
overrated,
in,
isn't it?
in the
Objectivism.
'60s. Well, they leave out human beings. It's just they're
Mm-hmm.
super. I don't want to go there, but anyway.
Have you ever voted for a Republican in a partisan race? Partisan.
I have.
Oh,
I have.
that's because they're such a good candidate.
I have. Well, sometimes I didn't have a choice because there's only one candidate and no
Oh, yeah,
write-in
you live in Kern
candidates,
County.
and I always vote. I always vote
Yay.
for whatever.
See, Hop, he always votes. Think about that.
Yeah,
So did I.
I always vote too. My
I used
parents
to vote all the time.
pounded
too.
that into us.
God, I was going to
Voting
make
is
some
a privilege.
important comment, but you made me
Sorry.
forget what I was going to
Because
say,
you
Tracy.
thought
No,
about
go ahead.
voting
No.
for a Republican.
He
Oh
did-
my
he was
God.
I could tell by his facial expression he was thinking about it.
He got a little troubled.
We have to take a break. We have one more segment in which to get you guys all prepped. What have we not covered yet, Bob, for the big primary election
We got to
tomorrow?
talk about Donnelly and Kashkari.
The two guys who are running to see who's going to get the holy living crap kicked out of them by Moonbeam.
Correct.
Nice.
There's
Just
that.
write a check for that or something. We'll be right back. It's First Look with Scott Cox. It's Bakersfield.com and News Talk 1180 KERN. You can vote somebody. You vote for something. You don't have to hold your nose. I'm not holding my nose and voting anymore. I'm only voting for people I like. Here's Bob Price. He's like an editor or something now.
And I'm with Gene
Vintage
Tackett.
bicycle enthusiast.
Yes, I am. I rode my bike yesterday for a long, long, long time.
A long, long, long
What's
time.
a long, long, long
Long,
time?
long time, yeah. We'll
20
talk about it later.
All right.
Yeah.
Tracy Leach and Gene Tackett, thank you. Former political consultants who are still very much in of that mindset.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lure
Geeks.
Tracy back into the game.
Geeks.
Geeks.
She's too young to be retired. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
And Gene, once you things kind of gray up a little bit, that's when you have,
Once thing you're like
Gray.
you're speaking in future tense now. Once things
Gray
gray up
up.
a little bit,
yeah.
that ship may have already sailed, Bob.
Well, it actually sailed for me.
All right.
But anyway, let's talk in our last segment here about the governor's race. We got Neil Kashkari and Tim Donnelly. Tracy, give me your lowdown on Tim Donnelly.
You're killing me. Well, I'm going to disappoint Republicans by saying Jerry Brown is almost unbeatable. If not unbeatable, he's almost unbeatable. He's formidable. He's going to run away with that thing. So the battle over who's going to be the other guy in that race for November, I don't know. Honestly, I've been a little bored with it.
It's sort of like
little
that
bit.
one era where it was
He
like
is
whoever went in the
formidable.
ring with Mike Tyson was just going to.
Yeah, it was like, will it be the first round? Will he make it to 3 rounds? I'd have bets with my dad over that. And that was before he was biting people's ears off.
Yeah, there was-
that was
yeah,
before that.
that one
Yeah, he had just pummeled people. It was just who's going to be the useful idiot that day.
I heard
And
somewhere
punching bag.
that Jerry Brown had been identified as the most powerful Republican in Sacramento because he has really sort of reeled in. I mean, a
He's
supermajority
quirky.
of Democrats could
Yes.
theoretically be a bad
He
thing.
sort of keeps them. Yeah, he has on occasion certainly kept them in check. Oddly enough, so he's quirky that way. I always say he's quirky.
He just knows what to do. I remember when he was governor most of my 8 years when I was on the board of supervisors. But they used to to answer, well, what are you going to do today? He says, well, I'm in my canoe and I paddle a little to the right, I paddle a little to the left, I paddle a little to the left, a little to the right. I mean, he's always sort of figured out how to sort of stay ahead of the curve. And, I think most people in California, he's got some high numbers, that he's done a really good job. But I also think it's important that a governor doesn't run unopposed. I think we have to give credit to these two guys running in the primary, knowing that it's mainly only ego and it's the money they spend, but at least they're giving people a choice.
And they build up a little
Sure.
bit of name recognition at the same time.
Sure.
Sure, we need choices. That's wonderful, and we need elections. People voting in
But
the
as
elections.
I can't remember if we said it off air, but whoever wins, if Donnelly, who is the guy that used to be the Border Patrol guy, he will bring out a lot of immigrant, Hispanic,
Yeah, to vote
a lot
against
of
him.
Democrats to vote against him. So if he wins, he could inflate the Democratic turnout in November, which would be sort of ironic. But that could happen.
I've heard that
card's
a
been
lot.
played. Card's been played before.
Yeah, and the presumption from that is that David Valadao and Andy Vitek should be terrified, and we're hearing it from the Washington political consulting class because they want rich guys, as you mentioned previously, with a lot of money and ability to fundraise, so they can get their 15% of said rich guy candidate. So they're always telling us, grassroots conservative types, beware of the conservative guy. He's going to drag you down and ruin your party. And I don't know. I take it with a huge grain of salt, let's just say, when it's coming from who it's coming from. And I think we didn't talk about Andy Vitek. I think he's built really great relationships in the Valley also. I think he's done a great job. His staff has done an outstanding job. They're everywhere.
Yeah, have you heard a legitimate Andy Vitek complaint?
No, he's
What?
another really
Seriously,
good
how
guy.
could you do the job better than that guy's done the
No,
job?
I
has
know. I
one.
agree.
No,
I
no,
agree.
he's from Central Casting. I
Exactly.
actually met.
He's got the hat, he's got
No,
the
no,
whole-
I
Right.
actually met him, and this is a great comment.
I know
but
Andy. He's a
I
great
think his
guy.
Levi's are a little too tight.
Oh, mercy.
Well,
Well,
at least
just-
they're
a
not
complaint.
saying, I'm
so
just
a
saying.
complaint's been lodged.
Yes,
Finally.
that's what I
just-
said. A legitimate
I'm just
complaint.
saying.
I've yet
I'm
to
just
hear.
saying. And when we
Okay.
see the TV ads, people will know what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
mean, he'll have some ads in,
I'm just
in
a
the
troubled
fall.
tacket
But
that you've been
he's-
looking at that so
No, no, he's
closely.
the
No,
ads
no,
of
I'm
our-
an observer. I'm a political
Oh, yeah, you're
consultant.
an
I have to watch
observer.
that
It
kind
all
of stuff.
matters.
but
All these
it
things
matters.
add
No,
up.
no,
I'm
it
Scott,
does.
you're saying it's
It
all
does.
about
It
who
does.
has the
Andy's a
sign
great
and
guy.
what I've heard. I
Yeah.
mean, in that
He's going to
context,
roll up his sleeves and go up to Sacramento and turn the water on and get these farmers their water. Because it's that simple. There's a big valve up there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
Andy Vitek has played it very well, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming that his polling is telling him he doesn't need to run TV.
Yeah.
So he's got.
Well,
he's gotta be in
I've
a-
heard
a comfortable
January,
place.
Univision poll, he had 47% approval rating with
Yeah.
Hispanics when he was in the 20s at the end of his election last year. So his staff and his camp is feeling pretty good about the work they've done with the Hispanic community, which makes up, of course, the majority of his district. So he's done a really good job of connecting with people.
Yeah, and I
that
made
shows.
this comment to James Berger in the article. I think it was in Sunday's Californian that what Valadao and Vitek both did was sort of channel what Dean Flores and Rubio did and became not Valley-crats, but Valley Republicans. We didn't quite know how to say that word, but they've sort of taken that same kind of line to represent the Valley and have picked up on sort of what Rubio and Flores sort of lost when they didn't go out at the top when they went out. But I think that's they've done very well, and it's going to be hard for anybody to beat those two guys in the short term, while Hispanic Democratic turnout is really low. But I thought about the brilliant comment that I forgot about before. But one of the things we don't talk about a lot is the number of decline to state. There are more Democrats registered in these districts than Republicans, but the Democrats don't have 50%. They're down around 40, and there's more and more people who do not register with either party, and they're the ones that really decide the election on which way they go. And in the recent past, I think those declined to state have voted more Republican or more conservative than liberal
That's
or
true.
Democratic.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's right.
No party preference.
That's
it's
20,
called now.
22% now are declined to state.
And to Bob's comment about TV and Andy, it's a top 2 primary system now. There's just, I think it's Luis Chavez. I forget his name.
Yeah.
There's just the 2 of them. The race is really in November.
Right. Right.
So he doesn't need to expend resources. At
We had
this
Chavez in
second.
here, and he's
Although you want to have a
he's
good
on the ball.
showing. You want to have a
Right,
good
right. You don't
showing
wanna get your butt
tomorrow.
kicked in the
no,
primary and
it
the-
matters. It matters.
Yeah, it does.
Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm sure he's
Once all
guarding
this
his
shakes out,
resources.
I mean, are all the teams going to get redefined? Is Wesley Snipes and his crew going to get their act together and get everybody in line? And then the unions are going to get all their people streamlined too, so that the next election will be a little bit more cut and dried than this one?
Yeah. Hey, one thing we need to do a shout out for the mayor of
Of Bakersfield, who
Fresno.
broke his hip.
Oh,
Get
well,
better,
Oh,
Harvey.
Ashley Swearingen.
actually could be the only Republican to win a statewide race in years, and she's running for controller.
Controller, yeah,
Controller.
yeah, doing
She's done a
quite
good
well.
job in Fresno,
did a
and
very good
she's
job.
getting. She got, I think, endorsed by the L.A. Times. So
Go,
I
Ashley,
think
go.
we're going to see. It'll
Is
be
Fresno
interesting
still
to
there?
see. Well, I mean, if she leaves, I don't know what'll happen. It may go in the
I'm just
toilet,
saying, if
but-
she done that, has she done that good a job in Fresno? If it's still there,
Yes.
seems like she may still have some work to do.
Well, she has a good reputation, and she's cut taxes.
She's got a very
she's done
bright
good
future
job.
ahead of her. I can tell you
She's
that.
done-
She's
done
not
a good
stopping
job.
at Kings County.
She's done a good job.
Fun fact about Ashley Swearingen. She's married to Paul Swearingen, who was a sportscaster in Bakersfield for several
I thought you
years.
were going to say
Yeah.
Al Swearingen, who
Yeah,
runs the
that's right.
Gem Hotel
Yeah.
and Saloon.
True story.
We got to take a. We're done for the day. It's 10 o'clock. What am I talking? We're done. You guys have a great day. What's left of it? Stay tuned for the Money Wise guys and the Sean Hannigan. Valadeo will be on. Oh, if he takes milk, Valadeo, if you take Rosa Brothers Farms milk to the Ralph Bailey program and I didn't get any, we will have words, my friend. Words. You guys have a great day. What's left of it? Is that a cow? Oh, I get it. Dairy. Cows. You get tired, pull over, you get hungry, eat something, and go vote tomorrow. There's nobody good to vote for, but go vote anyway.
At least 14%.
14.
Of you.
9 to 11% of you, maybe 10.
Thanks.
And join us back here tomorrow for your last preview.